My talk today is called, Are You a Good Witch or a Bad Witch? Or, Are you a good witch or a bad witch? Oh my goodness. Of course, everyone, all of us, we all have a little good witch and a little bad witch in us. That's just human. That's just us being human beings. And of course, I meant that title to be a bit tongue-in-cheek. I want to give a deep bow and honor all of those practitioners of the Wiccan tradition. This time of year is most precious to them. And of course, my pagan roots have a deep place in the whole experience of Halloween. The concept of Halloween actually originated in Ireland and Scotland, and it came to the United States from the ancient Celtic pagan tradition called Samhain. Of course, the current Americanized version is quite different, but this time of year still has that theme of enchantment and magic to it, if we lean into it. In addition, while it has nothing to do with Halloween, on November 2nd, the festival of Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, is coming up this Wednesday. By the way, Day of the Dead is this Wednesday. The ancient indigenous people of Mexico practiced rituals celebrating the lives of their past ancestors. And the belief is that on Dia de los Muertos, the souls who have passed on come to visit their family members. Many people in Mexico and in Latin America celebrate this day by visiting the graves of deceased loved ones and setting up altars with their favorite foods and photographs to honor them. So this coming Wednesday, this festival, I invite you, you might consider saying a special prayer or even creating a little altar of your own in remembrance of your loved ones who have passed on, just to join in that energy of welcoming and remembering and honoring. I think it's such a beautiful tradition. Now, kind of taking all of this this magic, this enchantment, this connection with the other side of life, there is also another side of the experience of this time of year. So looking at it from another angle, from an ancient perspective, if you think of this time of year, these festivals coincide with the end of summer and the preparation for the beginning of winter. It is a winter time, or a wintering time, when human beings, when we get to come to terms with moving into the darkness. I was driving the other night, and I had to look at my clock because I looked like it was 9:30. It was only 7. It's really disconcerting. Anybody? It's very disconcerting. It's very disconcerting. But just like our ancestors, we are called to come to terms with darker days, with shadowed places, with the mystery, with the unknown. So tomorrow is Halloween. We see this because our practitioner Sheila is dressed in the most glorious angel costume in the back. Love you so much, Sheila. I don't know if you could get a picture of that, Mary, but what? It's okay. If you can't. Sheila, I just love that. I just absolutely love that. So tomorrow is Halloween. And this being just a week and a half or so before the election, I think that, I'm glad you dressed up as an angel, Sheila, because right now, a lot of us are feeling very scared. Yes, can we just name that? With this election, we're feeling scared. We're feeling nervous, uncertain. And this fear is justified. There is so much at stake right now for women, for our LGBTQIA plus community, for democracy. If you haven't yet voted, please do. Please do. Halloween is such an interesting holiday. On Halloween, we wear costumes. We give ourselves permission to experience our fears in a safe way, in kind of an isolated, safe way. UCLA psychiatrist Dr. Carol Lieberman wrote, by dressing up as the things people are most scared of, often they're trying to feel as though they have mastered their fears. Sometimes that's what we do. We do all kinds of costumes, creativity, fun things, angels among us, all of it. But also there is an element to the scary stuff because it's a safe time to express our fears with each other. And as I thought about this idea and I went deeper with it, and sort of coinciding with the current political energy field that we are all living through. And just know today in Brazil, I don't know how many of you follow this, it's a very important day. This is their runoff election, and they are fighting authoritarianism there. We will hold the light for them as those results come in later this evening. But it occurred to me that Halloween just reminds us that it is okay to be scared sometimes. It's just okay. We in the West here, we tend to push on. We tend to not want to, watch the news or which I get, but we tend to, even not want to talk about what's difficult. This is also in sort of New Agey circles, and it can seep into New Thought tradition where we just want to kind of skip it over and talk about all the love and light, and that is 100% spiritual bypass. That does nothing. Please don't do that. Don't think that we do that. That is not what we're about ever, 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 ever. Halloween reminds us that it's okay. It's okay just to be in it sometimes. And sometimes that's what we humans, that's what we need to do, So whatever it is that you may be feeling nervous about in your life right now, whatever that may be for you, and it'll be different for everyone. It could be the election. It could be something that's going on in your life. It could just be general, feeling. Whatever that may be, if you have something that you feel nervous about, I just want to share with you that it's really, really okay. In fact, it is very, very healthy to allow yourself to feel it. Many of you have heard me say, set a timer. Don't stay there because we can just, put up a tent and 20 years go by. And that's not a life. That's not a life, right? But it's okay to really feel it. I find it very interesting that our scheduled elections season always lands after Halloween. It's like the ethers are giving this opportunity to get our scaries out before the results come in. I'm kidding, I'm teasing. Kind of, I'm kidding. Mandy Hale wrote, "It's okay to be scared. Being scared means you're about to do something really, really brave." It's okay to be scared. Being scared means you're about to do something really, really brave. I believe we in this country are about to do something really, really brave. What is it? It's peace. It's peace. It's peace. Peace. Because we humans are not meant to stay in the scared place. We're not meant to stay there. We're meant to visit it. We're meant to gain strength from it and overcome whatever it is that this scary thing is, because Spirit is always calling us through our fear into bravery, which always leads to more love. Have you ever noticed that whenever you are courageous or brave, even in a courageous conversation, it will lead to more love? Ultimately, even if it's kerfuffly and difficult in the moment, kerfuffly, one of my favorite words. Well, I think it's kerfuffle, but kerfuffly is my take on it. But even if it's for your own self in the moment, even if the person decides not to agree with you or whatever, when you are courageous, it leads to more love. Always. Always. Just like, you know how when we give ourselves permission to do something or to feel something, there is an expansion, there is an opening that happens. Do you know what I mean? As soon as we give ourselves permission to have that courageous conversation, love rushes in. Love rushes in. And if we just gave ourselves permission, maybe take some time tomorrow on Halloween, even for just a few minutes, I invite you to lean into the power and the wisdom of your ancestors. Let yourself take a moment. Give yourself permission to have the feeling of nervousness and at the same time, and here is the spiritual tool, recognize that this too shall pass. This is how when you set that timer, you don't stay there for 20 years in anger, fear, resentment, guilt. That timer is this too shall pass. Because it will. Our ancestors remind us of that. Ancient wisdom reminds us of that. I'm just going to invite you to try not to skim over everything because there's a fear of feeling it as these elections are coming up or whatever it is that's going on in your life, because that just creates more toxicity. It creates more toxicity in the body temple. It creates more toxicity in our relationships. This too shall pass. So just like, how when you are watching a movie, you're in a movie theater, maybe it's been a while since some of you have been in movie theaters, maybe some of you have gone back to movie theater, but you remember, you're in a movie theater, let's say it's a scary movie or there's something scary, right? You're in it. You're totally in it. You're feeling it. You're like, oh, what's going to happen? And yet, at the very same time, there is this place within you, the observer, the witness, that's up over here, that's observing you, observing the scary moment in the movie. Are you with me? So if you can kind of tune into that for a moment, that observer, that soul part of us that knows it's just a movie, even though we might be feeling scared in the moment. But our human brain has temporarily forgotten it because, when the brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what isn't if we don't let it know. But our soul always knows the truth of ourselves and the truth of each other. The spiritual tool here is to give ourselves permission to feel whatever it is. But just like in the movie, if you can detach and observe it, you will move through it in a way that is, oh yes, I'm feeling scared. Oh yes, this is really, really concerning me, whatever it is. And what I know is this too shall pass. What I know is this too shall pass. Our soul knows the truth of ourselves, and our soul knows the truth of each other. In the grand scheme of things, in the current movie, the United States in 2022, this particular twist in the plot that we're watching, it is going to come to an end. This particular twist in the plot that we are watching in the United States of America in 2022 is going to come to an end. And so, we're going to move. We're going to walk out of this theater, friends. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And so while you allow yourself to feel the feelings for that short period of time, just understand that this movie that we're all watching, some might call it a horror movie. Again, I'm sticking with the Halloween theme. Like our ancestors who came before us, this movie, this chapter, this too shall pass. Hold to this. I invite you to think for a moment of something that may be challenging to you personally, whatever that may be for you. Just something that's challenging you. Again, this will be different for everyone. And I invite you to just, as you bring that up, recognize that while it's important to acknowledge it and to feel it, the next step is actually the powerful choice. The next step is the spiritual choice. It is the decision to remind yourself that this is temporary, whatever that may be, and that God, the angels, are at work in your life right now, providing ways, avenues, pathways for the healing of whatever that may be, for the revealing of truth around that. Whatever that is for you, the universe is conspiring for your good, as we say around here. In our Reproductive Dignity and Rights Ministry meeting this week, we acknowledged that the work that we've done in Oregon and Colorado and California Well, we acknowledged that work and also talked about our action plan for this week, our next steps on this team. And if you want more information, you can go to our website if you would like to find out more about it. This week, we're going to be doing phone banks and texting gatherings, where we're working to help get the vote out in swing states, just reminding folks to vote. And we shared in the meeting that as activists, as spiritual activists, we are feeling right now with this election coming up, and this is what I was really hearing from the group, that while it is ours to walk our love out into the world, to take a stand for inclusivity, dignity, and equity for all people, in the same breath, it is also for every one of us spiritual activists and those of you here who are doing this work. What I can tell you is that in the very same breath, the truth is that there is a tendency to otherize, right? Right? And this makes this work hard. There is a tendency, to otherize. The minute we declare that we are light, we are right, and they are shadow, and they are wrong. The minute that we do that, we have stepped into the false belief of separation, that we are not connected. This does not mean for a moment that we agree the actions that they are taking. I'm talking about on an individual, spiritual, human level. Anytime you otherize someone, you have forgotten God. You have forgotten Spirit is right there in them, at the center of them. How many of us have friends, family members, neighbors who have a different ideology than we do? Almost everyone, yeah? You online. Okay. This movie is going to end. We're going to walk out of the movie theater. I'm reminding you of that. I want to remind you of that. And in that same breath, I want to remind you that there is just as much love and God and source at the center of them as there is here, right? The Christian Bible says something that Ernest Holmes echoed all the time. God is no respecter of persons, meaning that God or Spirit or Source, whatever word works for you, that same love lives in all of us, even, yes, the difficult people. Yes. They may not know it. That's okay. That's all right. But we can know it for them. We know that that love lives at the center of them. And we can be together that level of love on the planet. We can be together that level of love during this election, up to it and after it. Are you with me? Yes. And this can be really hard. This can be really, really difficult, especially when we're in the throes of drama with someone, perhaps that person, This can be really difficult when we're in this kind of election cycle. But the challenge, the spiritual call for those of us on this spiritual journey is to consciously do this work. Because when we in our humanness find ourselves labeling people as good or bad, are you a good witch or a bad witch? Us and them, this side of the aisle, that side of the aisle. When we recognize that we are doing that in any given moment, there is a profound call to take a breath and just remember the light at the center of their being. Remember the source, Spirit, God, at the center of their being. I was chatting with my daughter, Flynn, who completed her college theater program last year, so we talk a lot about theater. And we were sort of talking about this, and she reminded me, do you remember the musical Wicked? The witch with the green face. It was like huge. She reminded me that Wicked, that in that show, actually the bad witch, Elphaba, the green one, the one who everybody hates and is afraid of, who can be mean, we learn actually ends up having good in her, significant good in her. And we learn that the good witch, Glinda, who everyone loves, has a considerable amount of not so good in her. Popular, I want to be popular. Remember that? Oh, my word. For those of you who don't remember, I apologize. That was probably really strange and weird. But this is the thing, aside from those wonderful musical performances, and the incredible music, Wicked won 3 Tony Awards, a Grammy. It's the 6th longest running Broadway show. Why? I think it's because this idea of good and bad is so universal. It taps into all of us. We recognize ourselves in both the bad witch and the good witch, and the ways in which they can redeem themselves. We see this across all great literature. There is something comforting when we learn that it is human to have both shadow and light. And here in New Thought, we teach to embrace all the parts of ourselves, to take time to feel it, to acknowledge those moments when we are otherizing, so that a greater truth can be revealed, to bring whatever it is that is lurking in the shadows within ourselves up to the light, to be released. Another way of saying this is to make the unconscious conscious. So much of what we are doing in this teaching is making the unconscious conscious. And in doing this, we experience our greatest growth. And one of the most expedient ways to do this is to notice where we sit in judgment of others. Again, we do not have to agree with their actions. Heavens no. And we do our work to create opportunities to correct that. And when we can acknowledge our own shadowed parts, those parts that we are terrified to look at, those parts that only come out on Halloween, or when we're very tired or hangry, anybody? When we are brave enough to look at those parts of ourselves, otherizing automatically becomes less possible. The psalmist wrote, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. Even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. We learn our light from our darkness. Do you get that? When we are brave enough, again, there's that word, when we are brave enough to look at the places where we hold judgment of others, that is when our consciousness lifts. Awareness is curative, as Ernest Holmes always said. From the mother of all religions, Hinduism, the oldest religion on record, in the ancient Vedic text, it says, the whole world is a big family. Thanksgiving's coming up. I'm teasing. But you know what I'm talking about around the table. We have an opportunity to hold it all. The whole world is a big family. From his Sermon on the Mount, Jesus said, love your enemies. Man, that's easy to say. But that's the call. That's the walk. Love your enemies. From the wisdom of Islam, it is written, praise be to the Lord of the universe who has created us and made us into tribes and nations that we may know each other, not that we may despise each other. Praise be to the Lord of the universe who has created us and made us into tribes and nations that we may know each other, not that we may despise each other. This week, as this election draws near, I invite you into kindness. Gentleness and kindness with yourself as you notice when you are otherizing or when you are in judgment. As you move your feet, you may be in the phone bank reminding people to vote, whatever that is. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I invite you to hold to that high consciousness, to be kind to yourself and to others as you move through any fears that may come up. Kindness to our human siblings who see the world in ways that we may not understand. Kindness. The Dalai Lama said it so clearly. My religion is simple. My religion is kindness. My religion is simple. My religion is kindness. Let's be kind to ourselves this week. Let's be kind to each other this week. Let's be kind to our world this week. Hi, friends. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that this message supported you. We are a nonprofit, and we do all of this based solely on the gifts that you give. No amount is too small or too large. You can text to give. You can go online and check out our website. We're doing so much. You can give that way. Thank you so much for being here, for being a part of this community, and for supporting this message of bringing more light, more love, and spirit-led social action out into the world. Thank you. You're loved. So loved.